there's loads of talent out there. There's loads of people with great ideas, but like getting started is hard, and just like knowing where to start, just practical little stuff, or having the confidence to do it, or knowing who you should ask about things that you don't understand, etc. And we've had to work through a lot of that. I mean, we started as a pop-up. We were very small and shonky and had no idea what we were doing, and faced all of the issues that people starting up in business do.
Welcome to Captive Conversations, brought to you by Captive Wi-Fi. I'm your host, Adam Foreman. This podcast brings you the best stories from suppliers, marketers, and operators from our beloved hospitality sector. Now, let's get on with the show. Hello, everyone. Episode 53. I hope I got it right. I have Nick Philpot from Yolk. So you can give everyone a bit of a wave or a virtual wave for people who are listening. Thank you for coming.
Pleasure. I
know you've had an opening today, and you're here. So I'm very honoured, to be honest with you. So this is going to come out in a couple of weeks. So check out Holborn and Yolk.
90 High Holborn.
90 High Holborn. Absolutely. This is going to be a nice story, actually, because your origin story is pretty cool. And I was there at the very beginning as well. And friends of mine were there at the very beginning too, actually. So, which is cool. So, we're going to dive straight in. So the first question from Bao from Auden Hospitality was, if you could start a charity, what would it be?
Right, okay. So yeah, I think I would like to start a charity which is essentially helping. There's loads of talent out there. There's loads of people with great ideas, helping them start. But like getting started is hard, and just like knowing I think there's a wider problem, or just practical like little stuff, to be tackled, or having the confidence to do it, or knowing who you should ask about things that you don't understand, etc. And we've had to work through a lot of that. I mean, we started as a pop-up. We were very small and shonky and had no idea what we were doing, and faced all of the issues that people starting up in business do. Literally just didn't know how do you incorporate a company? Where do I get my hobs from? Whatever. So I think like ideally with a food slant, but not necessarily. I think just like helping people who've come out, who like want to make a new side of things, have got like passion, inspiration, motivation, drive, but maybe don't know what is the first step. I think my feeling is that people should just be encouraged to do it more. I think we heard a lot of no or don't do it on the journey when starting, and people being like, whoa, it's hard. And, oh, not a food sector, it's really tricky. Starting a restaurant is a nightmare. They all fail. All of which may be true, and it is hard, but it's also totally doable. And you just need, there need to be more people out there saying yes to people and supporting people to give it a go. So yeah, that's what I'd like to do.
That. Especially the food hospitality base.
Yes, yeah. I was thinking Unlocked. Would be the name. What do you think about that?
That's really good. Well, to be fair, and funny, you say that, not that it's to do with that, but there's a guy called Jack that used to work for Lightspeed. He's now moved to Australia, and he's called. Not that it's linked, but it's called Unlocked Hospitality, which is quite a clever name, generally, to link things together. That's what you want to do, right? You want to link the name of what you. Okay, you better trademark that after you leave. So
I'm probably going to be into it.
It's probably pretty good. Okay, next question: if you could host a famous person, past or present, for a dinner, who would it be and when?
Okay, so I think this is probably not a very original answer for someone in food and hospitality, but Anthony Bourdain, I think would be great. I mean, the guy was amazing, loved food, loved travel, but also was incredibly thoughtful on morality, politics, culture, music, whatever it might be. So I think he would be a great person. And instead of when, I guess like after he's written Kitchen Confidential, but he's starting doing his TV shows and he's traveling everywhere. Maybe he's like less world weary than he was in his later years, and he's like fired up for it all and excited and like dealing with I'm suddenly a celebrity and all of that. So yeah, I think he'd be good.
That'll be good. That's a good one, actually. Okay, standard questions. The first one is best hospitality experience.
Oh gosh, that's quite a tricky one. Best hospitality experience.
I mean, so Bao this week, he was like, I think he went to Cole for like that 10-course thing, and like the whole experience. He goes, the menu had his name on it, and so on. Other people have been like hotels with that little touchy feet with that top touch. Something where I think the experiential side has really shaped. You've been like, that is awesome. Even just go dinner and stuff, something where you've been to and you've been like, hold on.
Yeah.
Because there's some really cool stuff out there, whether it's across anything.
Yeah. Thing is, it's an interesting one.
Yolk and Holborn, the whole kiosk environment was just,
Mad
the customer service. The guy smiled at me, actually. I got a smile from a staff member.
Super immersive, yeah. The thing is, it's a tricky one for me because, so my wife and I are big into going out and eating, but actually, so we tend to try and eat, especially when we're on holiday and things like that, at pretty simple places. Like, I used to, I mean, in terms of like an amazing experience of something that's a bit more, tasting menu, etc., we really love the Sportsman in Kent.
Yeah.
It's not like crazy, like, menu designers, but it's pretty simple. They call themselves a grotty little pub by the sea.
Yeah.
It's obviously not. It's like amazing, but like we kind of love that fusion of high and low, and generally that's the kind of experience that we actually are really passionate about and into. So
is that the quiet stuff?
Yeah,
where it's exactly. Like, you might want to say it doesn't have to be super high end, but it's that little touches, right?
Exactly. It's like really simple places, and actually like so. I therefore struggle to think of a particular example from travels, etc. But we love going to Sicily. That's our favourite place to go, and there are like Michelin star restaurants, etc. But we never go to that.
Yeah, but the local one with the owner operator. I mean, we had I think we had Tommy from Honest, and he was like, "Go to France.
Yeah,
they're all exactly the same. You walk in, the owner will come out and greet you. He knows who everyone is.
Yeah,
and that could be one of them as well. So it's one of those little ones where you go in and you may have not been there for a year, but the guy will clock you and be like, "Welcome back."
Yeah.
So I think that's
So I think those like. Maybe like arancini being made fresh in front of you, deep fried in front of you, like that's a kind of great experience to me. Where it's super simple, it's kind of street foody, but you're seeing it live, you're seeing the craft of it, and you're kind of in and amongst like people going about their everyday lives. That's kind of my favorite time.
That's good. Best hospitality tech. It's a tricky one, and it could be something that you may have used, may have been immersed into. It doesn't have to be your own. That you used, but something you've maybe seen and been like, oh, that's quite interesting, or have used in a place.
I'm sure. This is just one that pops up to me because it's occurred to me recently. I'm not sure it's like the most dazzling thing in the world. It's so Fink's Salt Sweet, which is I live in Finsbury Park. Fink's has got a bit of an empire in Finsbury Park. It's got all the little like great cafe and pastry and sandwich spots.
Oh, awesome!
Really nice. Love it.
Finsbury Park. When I saw you, actually, didn't I? I dropped my kid off a dance, and I was like, "What are you doing here?" And you were like, "What are you doing here?" It's so different. It's like so many cool places there. It's like it's awesome.
It's really nice.
Yeah. And so was it like a local app?
Yeah, pretty simple, but basically it was a kind of as you tap to pay, it basically somehow was getting it basically offered you the opportunity to sign up to their loyalty scheme and kind of added their wallet pass to your pass like so seamlessly. I can't actually even remember how it happened. I was like, what was going on here? It was suddenly on my wallet.
Yeah.
And then like I was getting like text updates from them. It basically seemed to like hack my phone way, but it was incredibly slick. I guess that's the kind of thing which I'm after, constantly seeking and struggling to find from a Yolk perspective is stuff that just works, really seamless. It's nothing fancy, but it's just like,
something that hacks your phone, basically.
Exactly.
That's what you want.
Yeah. Turns out that is what I'm after.
I was talking to somebody else the other day about in the US, because there's no GDPR in the US, right? And there's no PCI compliance.
Great.
That's why we struggle here, right? So not so good for being bank your card being done.
Yeah.
But he was saying he was traveling. He went to this little coffee shop in New York, and then he went over to San Francisco for a meeting, and then he went to another coffee shop, and then it was Square. He was like, "How the fuck do they know who I am?" It's got my name and everything.
Yeah.
And because there's no GDPR, they were just like same like they were like it doesn't matter because they were like, here, have a wallet card with your name on it and your information and everything. It was like because he signed up for the little coffee shop because he was like, I'm gonna go back there, but it's a completely different business and then got a coffee and all of a sudden with his name and everything, phone number, name, all done.
You know what, I think that Finks are using Square, come to think of it. So I'm not sure what the UK version of it is.
Oh, so did it when you left, did you pay by Apple Pay? And when you left, it popped up with a wallet. That's new. Square have just released it.
Pretty cool.
So I was in Herne Hill.
Okay.
For a meeting. I went to this little Sicilian coffee shop.
I've
never been there before in my life. I paid by Apple Pay. As I walked out, it went, boop, do you want to join loyalty? And I was like,
I mean, that is great, right? That's super slick.
It's very clever. So the problem is that Square can't do what they do in the US here. So everyone's separate. But it's very clever. That is clever. Less intrusive.
Yeah.
As well. And it's hard.
Like we're trying to work with people getting, with wallet pass as well. But to be honest, our process of getting the wallet pass to your phone is just so much more clunky than that.
Yeah.
And there's like emails getting triggered and you download.
Yeah, the flow.
The other thing. And it's pretty good, but it's not that slick. So.
Well, to be fair, you've got a nice. I mean, you've got. And we can go into that. I don't want to talk about it now.
All right.
But we can go into it. But I think that it needs to be seamless.
Yeah.
And it needs to be easy. And they probably have got that. Okay. So let's go back in time. Maybe before Yolk. So
okay.
Did you work in a hospital when you were younger or not?
No, not at all. No, I guess I'm into food just because
we like it.
Food is great, and I've always been passionate about food. My mum is a great cook. My sister's probably the best cook in our household. My dad's a good cook. Like we're all into it, and it's just always been. It was always like the meal was the center point of the day.
Yeah.
Always for us growing up. So I always just like had food as being this most important, exalted thing. And then, I used to cook a lot for my friends. But I was the one that did all the cooking about it and bothered and had people around for dinner and stuff. So there's all of that. And then used to just like absolutely love going out for meals. Like for me, it's like can slightly drive my wife crazy that I'm like, a meal has to be the point of any like day. I'm like, okay, we're going to have lunch. Yeah. Like, can't we just go for a walk? Or like, what? Like, why does it always have to be aiming for a pub to have lunch or something? But so I'm very passionate about it from a kind of consumer and home cook perspective. I was working then in I was working in strategy consulting, very corporate, big company stuff, doing like M&A and growth strategy for big companies. So it's like super corporate, working really long hours. And then in that context, I was like stuck at my desk.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, well, at least there's lunch coming up. And I would go get
lunch.
Exactly. And I was like, this is rubbish. Like, what is going on here? Like on the weekend I was eating great food and going out, and at all price points there's amazing stuff, but in that kind of like bring it back to your desk or grab it and eat it somewhere quickly and then go back to the office, it was just like so joyless and sanitized and dull, and lots of big chains doing the same kind of stuff, either very convenience led or at that time, this is like 10-15 years ago, it was like kind of starting to emerge some health led stuff. Pod, when it existed, like Leon was kind of growing, all of those things, like Itsu was beautiful, people on the beach, etc. But there was very, very, very little that was just trying to be flavor focused and fun and something you could actually get excited about and be kind of like restaurant level quality, but in that fast format. So that was kind of the idea, the germ of the idea for Yolk. And I kind of knew that I wanted to do something that wasn't this corporate job. I knew that I wanted to start something, but I didn't really know what. And I just kept on coming back to food. It's always like food is what I care about.
Yeah. Is that circle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where do I go again?
Yeah. Exactly. So that was, so the idea was starting to form, then sat on it for like another year and a half, 2 years, to be honest, and like bored my friends about it and didn't do anything because I didn't really know how. Again, it's this thing of like, how do you start?
Yeah.
And it feels quite like paralyzing knowing what's the first step. Eventually just started doing a tiny little pop-up at a cafe in Finsbury Park. We took over their kitchen on weekends, just did their brunch service for them, just as like a way to get out there and cook. And I had no idea and was just roping friends in, and suddenly got quite busy and we were like, shit, like how do we actually handle this? And then basically had like quite a long process. Here's some places like a Flatiron or an Honest maybe who do their first pop-up and it's just like roaring success and off they go. Whereas for us, it definitely wasn't that. Like, we had some
learning, right?
Exactly. And we then had some massive failures. We tried locations that just totally didn't work. So we had a long period of up and down.
So was this on the side? Where you
was on the side.
So you're still working
doing full time and do this on the side. I would take holiday sometimes to do like a day's holiday to do a street food market in the week, or I'd do music festivals. Eventually, I went part time for a bit, and then 2017, I quit completely to just focus on Yolk. We did one really long term pop up in the city, in a shipping container, which was successful, and that's kind of when we were first and first met.
That was Broadgate Circle. The origins of Broadgate Circle.
Exactly.
Before what it is now.
And it was basically like well, internet kept on dropping, and which you came in and said today. But then we, we were just doing 4 sandwiches, 4 poached egg pots for breakfast, coffee through the day, and that was it.
Yeah.
But it was the first time it was like recognisably a version of what we do now. And yeah, so from there we opened our first site in 2018. And
what was the difference between that and the container to the actual site?
Well, space.
Yeah.
But that kind of led to, actually, in a way, the container was good because it forced, like, we literally couldn't do anything other than the menu I just described. Suddenly, when we opened the bigger site, still really small, but it was like 600 square foot instead of 150. So
I remember walking behind you and like, like that, literally, it was literally, it was like, I think it was thinner than a container.
Yeah.
Because you had storage as well. So you probably had enough person for one person to move about.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was absolutely tiny. And then when we opened the next site, to be honest, we made so many more mistakes going from pop-up to the first bricks and mortar, because we're like, yes, like we're going to do this and this. And we kind of tried to push the foodie side of it maybe a bit too far and forgot that people just want something quite simple as well.
Yeah.
So to be honest, like at the beginning we opened and we were only selling like less than we were selling in the container. I'm like, oh, what are we doing? And we were having like tripled the menu, etc. So then had to massively pare it back again in quite a brutal, like, quite quick and like, oh my God, we saw this out over the next 3 or 4 months, and then got to a point where it was suddenly working.
Yeah.
And we grew consistently from there. But yeah, I guess space and lack of, like, sometimes I just find it's quite nice operating constraints.
Yeah.
Kind of forces some discipline on you. And suddenly we were like, yes, we got all this, and we kind of lost our discipline for a bit. We got it back.
So because you still had the container.
Yeah.
And so
no, we didn't actually. So we actually did a switch. So we thought we were going from Broadgate container straight into Broadgate permanent.
Oh, but they took a while to build.
They took a while. Yeah. The container disappeared, but the building we were supposed to go into still wasn't ready. So we opened, the first site was New Street Square.
Yes. What was that before? It was
a pool.
Okay.
Yeah, used to be a pool, and it's actually right next to my old corporate job.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So I kind of knew it.
You were like, I'm downstairs.
Well, yeah, and so I think we got some extra custom at the beginning for people that knew me.
Nice.
But yeah, so and then eventually we got into Broadgate the following year in 2019.
Yeah. And that was site number.
That was site number 2.
Yeah.
Like because I kind of count the shipping container as 0.
Yeah, I understand that. It's quite interesting because it's sort of like that was the. Like, if you think about Curb and everything else, it's sort of like that's your incubator, I guess, where you had the opportunity in such a small format to actually test it, and test the format, and then obviously bricks and mortar was very different.
Yeah.
So then okay, so New Street, so 0, beta version, and the name, was that because of the breakfast thing or just?
To be honest, partly it was because of the breakfast thing. So we started doing breakfast in pop-ups and so they kind of work with that. But really, like, I've always thought Yolk was a nice name because it's like, partly it's one syllable, it's punchy, looks good on a sign, but also it's the kind of rich, delicious center of things. And it's kind of it's the good bit. It's the bit you hit and you're like, yes, that's it. So yeah, that's the kind of,
it is a good thing behind it. So
we still, our new tagline, we've done a bit of a rebrand. Our new tagline is "Good Bites Only." So we are all choiced. Sometimes people are like, "Is it an egg thing?" So we do have to kind of subtly guide people that no, it's all about like what the egg represents rather than it being its eggs.
Yeah. Because originally, I remember my friends telling me that egg pots, they're just raving about these egg pots.
Yeah. Which we still have.
Yeah, we just still do. But it's come a long way from the egg pots. Okay, so then 2 sites, and then more staff.
Yep.
And then you still managing everything.
Yep.
When did it get to the point where more sites? So what was it? Talk about the journey.
Yeah.
On
team-wise, etc. Yeah. So up until COVID, so 2019, it was still just me plus the sites.
Yeah.
We had a general manager in each site, and I was trying to do like a less than great job on marketing.
And how many sites did you have before COVID?
Just 2.
Okay.
Which was quite good, I think. It was quite good.
I was thinking now how many sites you have. Sorry, I know you're going to go forward, but it's like it's a nice big ramp up.
Yeah.
We could talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, and we were obviously in just limbo and stasis during COVID.
Did that give you an opportunity to, because everyone, and we completely like reworked everything.
Yeah.
Was it a whole opportunity to step back and go,
yeah,
this is where we are now? Did you put a plan together. Was that not helpful for you? But
no,
was that a good?
It was. I mean, I think in retrospect, we gained a lot from it. It almost killed us, and we were very, very near the edge then. But also, it did give us time and force us to step back and rethink things. I mean, the biggest one was we basically reduced our staff cost percent by about 5 percentage points from pre-COVID to post.
Yeah.
Mostly through rethinking the menu and prep processes. Like, we were too prep heavy before. We still make everything on site, every site. And that's a big part of our philosophy and our USP, we think. But at that point, there was too much. Like, we were prepping on the weekend, ready for the week, and we were doing stuff. Was like, it just wasn't well thought through enough. So we basically ended up chopping our prep list in half, but actually improving the menu, I think. So we just had loads of time.
So utilising the same, rather than having all those different items. Yeah. Actually, there's so many things that work together on all the menu items.
Exactly. So there's a lot of things that are repurposed different ways. But also, we just thought, like, this is tasty, but can we come up with something different? So, like, a lot of our sauces, for example, instead of being like a 12-hour cook to make it delicious, it's like, let's get 5 delicious ingredients and stick them in the blender. Yeah. And is that delicious?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Like, I'm trying to find really nice things that work well like that. Like, our andouille mayo is so good, and we sell so much of our, like, andouille club sandwich, for example.
Yeah.
We just get really nice andouille, roast it, mix it in with some mayo and lemon juice, and that's it.
That's it. So when's the retail pot going?
Well, it's definitely in the back of the mind.
So let's go back a sec, actually. So what was the tech that you used when you first had it?
Yeah, so we used to use EPOS now.
Okay.
Used to drive us mad. I mean, the main issue.
We had doors of EPOS now as well, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, the main issue we had there was our.
You were in a Faraday cage of a container,
exactly.
with like 4G or something crazy.
It was mental.
Yeah.
We had. Well, actually, I think we just had. No, you're right. We were trying to work on 4G in a steel cage, and so it was our PDQs were constantly going down. It was a nightmare. So that was very, very frustrating. And it was like pretty limited, at least the version that we had at the time, super limited version of the system. Then we moved to Syntegra.
Yeah.
And we were just we were quite like, kind of like old Leon in a way, or like, you know, in terms of our service style. And, you know, we had tills, we had queues on tills, and you came up and you ordered from them. And that was all fine, but then we were quite an old school. It was quite an old school. It was like an iPad based thing.
Yeah,
it was.
Did you have the low one, or did you have the low ones? What was it, actual iPads?
It was. I think it was actual iPad.
Okay, yeah. Okay, fine.
And
you were on their NCR Silver probably back in the day.
Yes,
the first version of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was kind of okay, but it wasn't very, like, I don't know. It was the beginning. It wasn't really giving anything. Like, you know, we're spending a lot of time, like, staff were basically spending all their time, like, working their way around this not that intuitive EPOS. Yeah. And, like, taking orders from people rather than actually being able to be, like, you know, more conversational and speak to them. So we were there. And then actually, as well as, like, reducing the prep list and everything during COVID, the other big change was that we moved to kiosk ordering. So self-ordering, like, tablet-based. Yeah. Which obviously was partly that was because we had time to implement it. Partly is because like COVID gave us a license to do it because people were used to it now. Like, you know, there was so much of it during COVID. Yeah. Kind of had to at some point, or, you know, there was like.
I remember going to Leon with the first kiosk that they did in Notting Hill.
Right.
And I was standing there because we helped Beta do some bits. And I remember being there, and they put it in, and this woman walked up and was like that, and you saw the general manager look at it and go, and he ran up and cleaned it off, and the amount of people sort of like lick their finger and start tapping, and it was just after the code, like literally, but I was looking going, okay, no one's going to touch that, so everyone sort of ignored that kiosk for a bit, and then move on to the next one.
Then just wait until the next person comes in who hasn't seen it happen. And
Yeah. So you gave so that was during COVID, was that the option of you going, actually, how can we make this different?
Exactly. And we started thinking about it then, and we actually implemented it. Our third site, which we opened coming out of COVID, saw that it was working there, and then we retrofitted sites 1 and 2. And then since then, all the sites have been working with Vita Mojo, kiosk ordering, and we just basically slightly adapted and continuing to adapt the layout of where they are and how it all works. Yeah. So at first, we kind of put them, you'd come in, you'd turn to the side, and there on the wall they would be.
Yeah.
And then we thought, it's not ideal because you're just turning away from our humans straight away. It's kind of sending the wrong message. And then we brought them onto the front counter, which is better because then you approach the team and they can have a conversation while you're doing it. And now, most recently at High Holborn, we've actually brought our production line onto the front counter as well. So everyone's pretty close. They can see everything happening. So like, you're not picky. You're not saying I want that on that. You're still ordering through the kiosk.
Yeah.
But you can see all the production right in front of you.
And then you can communicate
and you can chat to people.
I like that.
Oh, what's that? And then you can order it.
Yeah.
So, because I think that
the visual piece is, if you look at the old school sandwich shop, like the one in Baker Street around the corner, there's like an Annie's, which is like amazing. You walk in and you just see everything,
and it works, right?
Yeah, and then they've got nothing. They've got like a 1920 old school, whatever it is. It's terrible. It's terrible. But you walk in and they go and you scream 25 and so on. But you get to see it, and your eyes, it's very visual, and your food is very visual.
Yeah.
That's a really clever
so switch. It's because I think something that we're conscious that basically we do love the kiosk concept like that and that approach. I think it works really well because we can, it's very visual in how it displays the food. It helps people understand it. A lot of people do, people are very screen based now, right? And they like to go in and just do that. But what you risk losing, and what we felt it's sometimes more than other, depending on the layout, we have lost at times, has been that human connection. Yeah. And it's just hard. Like, even with the best in the world, and we really make it a focus for the teams and we bonus them on it, etc. But if it's madly busy, and they're busy serving and people are busy ordering those queues, you're not next to each other. Like, it's not really practical.
Human connection.
So you're trying to like smash the two together as much as possible. So I'm really excited about Holborn because it seems, based on day one today, but it seems to be working really well.
Yeah.
And I think if that does prove to work, then that's what we'll do moving forward. We might even go back and retrofit some.
Yeah, well, to be fair, you've got the flexibility of where the counter is, because it's just where people are waiting, really.
Yeah.
So, and are they all are still iPads, right?
All still iPads.
You haven't gone for the Giant.
We haven't, no.
And I like that. I like that you've gone for them.
Yeah, I think the Giant's just a bit mental.
Yeah.
They seem massive. Sometimes I see them, it's like, and it's like you're in a section of the menu and it's like 2 items up here and the payments down there.
Yeah.
You're literally having to move a lot. And especially in our context now where they're on the front counter, you kind of want them to.
You wouldn't want the giant ones. I was looking at Subway the other day, and they've built a screen in front of the glass, so you can't even see the food anymore.
Yeah.
And then they've got the four kiosks in front.
Have they? Yeah.
Yeah. So they've rolled it out to a couple of. So you can't go in and go, actually, I want a bit of less than that.
Yeah.
That's gone now.
Yeah.
And a lot of them. I saw the old ones are still there, so you can still do it, but it upset me. I looked down, I was like.
And it's like, that's what they've got. So it's like almost, it's taking this bloody long to work out. Oh, we should kind of do what Subway would be doing. It's just like we should.
Yeah, but to be fair, Or eventually, when you get another site, you'll have like one little man in the corner. They'll be like, "What can I make for you?"
Yeah.
You'll have like you can queue for the customized.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or maybe like the VIP. Club Yo can have a little. You go in your VIP and you can get your special.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, okay. So as you grew, So you grew, and then. More staff. I was talking. So I had Matt from Udit on this week, and he was like, when you get to the point of not knowing who everyone is, that's when you need to start doing it. So when did that point happen? Because you're a very friendly person, you're a very nice person as well, and we've worked with each other for ages. But when did it get to the point where you were like, I don't know who that is. Like, it is.
I don't think it was particularly at that. Like, that wasn't. We weren't at that point yet.
Yeah.
But it was more that I was like, I'm not nailing this here. Like, I'm trying to do too many things. I'm not really nailing any of them. Exactly. So the first central hire that we had was Peter, our head of ops. Because I was at that point, so we were kind of 3 sites, but planning to get to 5 pretty quickly. And I was just conscious that like I was spending a lot of time running around fixing problems, wasn't being strategic about our ops. I was just firefighting and basically needed someone to come in and like take some of the firefighting, but also help me like think and progress and move things forward, which he's done in an amazing way. So it was basically from that point of going site 3 onwards, started to build out the central team. And then we've just done it like in stages. So Peter joined head of ops, then Kat joined, who's our head of people. We had Paola join, who's our openings manager. Then Eloise joined, who's our head of marketing. And then now we're starting to grow out and to hire people or to promote people internally more. Who will like support those pillars. But we basically have our heads of department in place now. We work with like outsourced accountants who are great. So I think that's kind of it now, at least for
it's hard to get to that point, right?
Yeah.
I think the challenge when we speak to other operators as well is is that when you want to do everything because it's yours.
Yeah.
And that piece of giving, getting to that point of giving someone the gauntlet.
Yeah.
Doing it because you can't do everything, right?
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
and because it's your baby. You know, you're doing when okay, great. So what was this? Because going from 3 to 5, is pretty. I mean, it's like having staff members when you have like when we went from 2 to 3 to 7 to so when you get to that little jump, but there's lots more hoops to jump through. There's lots more HR. There's lots more operational stuff. So when you started to build a head office team, was that helpful to bring structure into the business?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what's been really lucky for me, to be honest, is that the people we've hired have been really good.
Yeah.
Like, because I think if
it is all about people.
Yeah, and we had some false starts with people like in the much earlier stages, sort of pre-COVID, people who were great but weren't quite great for like suited to the role. But I think we've been lucky in the hires that we've made post-COVID that everyone has worked. And certainly anyone coming into kind of more senior management positions has really worked well. So I think that's taken some of the burden of being, I think we could definitely always be more structured and organized, but luckily because everyone's really invested, they're self-starting, they like, they understand what they're doing really well, but also they're really collaborative. It kind of works quite well anyway. I think the next step for us is, as we're getting bigger and bigger, we need to take a bit more of a program management style approach to stuff. Because we're starting to get to a point where it's like, wow, there's a lot going on here, and like, did we actually know that this was intersecting with this at this point, which is obviously like basics when it comes to that, but it's just not something it's not a skill set or a muscle we'd had to exercise before, because it was small enough we'd be like, well, we all know.
Right. They'll just tell everyone it's fine. I'll tell one person and they'll just filter it through. Everyone talks a lot about change management when you're changing system. Obviously, you are looking at your, loyalty came in. You have the subscription thing. How was that drilling down? Because putting something in place and then having the right team to put it in place is always a challenge. Like I've had so many clients before. Like, we just changed our stock control system. We haven't told anyone, but it'll be all right. We'll be fine. And then everyone was like, "There's like warfare." Literally, it's like it's gone crazy. How is it? I mean, because obviously the subscription thing was new. That's obviously, a lot of work to get done. How does that with deploying that to the team? And down like change management there's those different things. But we had Travis Fish from Ops Club in, and he talks a lot about the change management piece, because everyone talks about it. How was implementing that now with all the sites you have?
Yeah, I think so. It actually went quite well, I think, in terms of the implementation. It was really hard work getting it ready and took longer than we thought and all of that. I guess what I would reflect on that I think has worked well for us is, so we recruited our head of people probably earlier than most places would, but I think we possibly, saw that people is becoming like much more of a strategic part of the business, and given all of the change that we've experienced with, whether it's Brexit, like the post-COVID environment, all of this stuff where hiring is harder, it's much more competitive, you need to be really exceptional on culture, and I think change management is part of that, and you basically just need to communicate louder, clearer, you need to bring people along for the ride in a much better way. But I think we saw that was kind of coming, and we basically thought, right, we just need to build out our people side of the business earlier than most. So we hired a people person before we hired a marketing person, which is kind of the other way around how most people would do it. And we did it pretty early. And, when we were, I think the Cat joined us, maybe we were about 5 sites, 4 sites actually going 5. So that's super early, basically. I think most people wouldn't do it until maybe they were twice the size. But I think that stood us in really good stead. We're really lucky because she is great and has helped us to focus on that side of things much better and earlier.
So does that help with obviously help with retention? We said that you've had a really good team. Everyone talks about retention. It's super difficult the turnaround of staff in casual dining generally, but in QSR too. If you, as you said, you can get them along with the ride, and build and then you're winning already. So it's interesting that you've done that early. And I think, as you said, it's benefited you because you've put that system in place to keep everyone invested into the brand, which is awesome. And it's weird that, as you should, it's weird because you've done it the other way around.
And
normally it's marketing, and then it's
like, whether that's right or not, I don't know, but like, it definitely has helped us. I think it's been really important to try and focus, and there's just so much stuff we weren't really doing properly before Kat joined, and there was quite a long period at the beginning of just like, right, well, we don't have any of this stuff in place, we need to put that in place. It's like, but that
was on your list, wasn't it?
Well, exactly. It's like, I know we should have, I never quite got to it. So like, spent a lot of time kind of getting the foundations right, but then it means that I just think we're much better now. It's certainly not perfect, and there's always that stuff that we look on to improve, but we're much better at being people first, basically. So when we come to a big change like that, we don't just drop it on them. Like, we train it properly. We think about the, like, why are we doing this? We have like briefing notes that go out explaining it. We like take feedback seriously, and we try and adapt the process once we've launched it, etc. So we just have that built into our mindset more now, and we have like people values that really drive the business. And
so nice to hear.
And I think that's really, really key, and that means that everything we do kind of sits in context of that. So change management isn't just something we're like, oh, we need to think about some change management here. It's like, that's just part of the process of how we do stuff.
Nice. And then crowdfunding.
Yes.
Is this I wanted to touch on that because it's pretty like is this second?
Well,
or is it, you did one already?
We've only done one proper crowdfund in the so we did, which is quite recently, we did a crowd cube, which was great. But hard work. And previously we've done, all of our raising has been from angels. So small, ranging from small to not so small. But so it's kind of, it's crowdfunding light in a way. And we've gone out to.
So that was the early door. That was earlier. And
exactly.
then so you've gone out to find those angels for you.
Exactly. And that's how. So first site that we ever opened, we basically found it was like friends of friends, like old colleagues, customers, and then people they introduced. Investing like £10,000 and up. So serious money, but not 100,000.
That's awesome for the belief though. That's like from there, just the early door belief, right? From there.
No, really gratifying and really lucky to have kind of to have that support. And we've got a really great group of investors, almost all of whom have like continued to invest and have followed on, whether in a small way or in a larger way. But the proper like crowdfund that we did through CrowdCube was kind of second half of last year. Ended up closing towards the end of the year, which was great. It's hard work.
I can imagine.
It is quite stressful. And I guess it's like you're quite I'd always resisted doing it previously, basically because I was nervous, because it's like you're quite exposed. If you go out saying, we want to raise some money, and then you don't, then you're like, oh, that is like pretty visible. Whereas previously, if we were like always trying to raise money, and like if it wasn't really happening, I wouldn't tell anyone. I would just say, like, and then when we finally did it, I'd be like, we raised it. We just went out.
You can be quiet as that
happened. So there was a bit of fear there where you're like actually putting yourself on the line to say we're definitely doing this. But we got to a size where we were confident enough that we've got a lot of customers, a lot of very regular.
You've got a lot of brand awareness and I think brand loyalty was.
Exactly. We're still a small brand compared to many, but the customers we have come back to us day after day and week after week. So we knew that there was like a strong base there. So like happy to have done it. I'm sure, I suspect we may well do it again at some point in the future, but it's quite hard work. And I think it's just, again, the first time you do it, it's like, what is this? Like, how do we do it? What's the sequencing? I'm sure, I know there are some places that have got absolutely down to a T and they can just knock out a crowdfund without even thinking about it. But for us, it was all quite new and just working out like, what do people care about? What's like, it's a whole different focus for your marketing. And I would say that like one thing we found quite tricky when we're still a really small team and still a marketing team of one actually now, like had been 0, now it's 1, was like, how do you manage that while also keeping your day-to-day marketing going? Because it's quite tricky, because like suddenly all your messaging is about we're fundraising. And I think maybe after a while, some people who weren't like, it was great and we were successful in raising, but I think part of the risk of it, or the side effect that we realised afterwards, was we hadn't actually really spoken about our sandwiches for weeks. Like it's all been about can we raise
messaging is difficult.
Exactly. So like tiding the two together, it can be, well, in our experience of that one time was tricky. But yeah, it was good. It was a success, and it's helped us open the next site. So.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Question for you: when did you get to the point of the marketing piece? Because you were doing everything.
Yeah.
So then the people was already done. So that's like a little edge, little chip off there.
Yeah.
Still massive amount. Ops, great, Peter, done.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you've still got that. So you were still doing probably more ops as well as other stuff and the marketing piece.
Yes.
What was the I need help for marketing? Like when was that, like, was that already in plan that you knew that
it was already in plan, and it's definitely like, it wasn't like I thought, well, I've got this more nailed than people and ops.
Yeah.
It was more just like, well, we've got to pick an order to do this. What seems most, I guess it's like, I mean, the ops side just felt existential at one point. It's like, okay, well, we need some help here, or else we're not going to be able to like open and trade every day.
Or you won't
we're
sleep.
really straight. Yeah, exactly that too. And, I think the people side was more of a conscious decision, as we discussed. To be like, okay, we want to get ahead of this. I think the marketing, probably, to be honest, it's partly because it's not a natural strength of mine. And therefore, maybe that, so I was having to do it, and I was giving it my best shot. And so,
to be honest with you, for the amount of science that you had before you had Eloise in, it's a pretty good job, to be honest. I mean, like you can't just say you're doing a pretty good job. It was a freaking awesome job.
Well, that's very kind, but I mean, I think, to be honest, we were lucky that just people like the product.
Yeah,
I think we basically just relied on having nice product, like space looked nice, people like, oh, this is cool, rather than it being proactively marketed particularly well.
Yeah.
And we're lucky that we grew through word of mouth mostly, and that's still the case. That's the biggest thing that supports our growth. But I guess just after a while, I realised like, we're just leaving.
Yeah, there's a gap there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in terms of like order of like critical, we must do this or else we will die kind of list. I guess for a while I pushed it down wrongly, thinking like, well, it's okay, like we're doing it right here. Like there's other stuff that's more important. Whereas potentially, in retrospect, like. Also, sort of like, have you got enough money at the time to do it? So, like, in a perfect world, you build the team from day one. So, like, let's go for this.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. Yeah. That's when you get your VC funding from day one. I got a great idea. I'm going to do an incubator.
Yeah.
I'm going to get 5 mil, which never happens. And then we're going to run out to 100 to 150 sites.
That's easy to it.
So, no worries.
Yeah.
Do a Wingstop.
Yeah, well, they've done it, to be fair.
They have.
So I guess it was just like, it was time. It was clear. It had been clear for a while, and it was like the right time, and we felt like, okay, we can do this now, and let's go and find someone who can help us properly.
And that list has now been taken off of you and on to Eloise.
Exactly.
So and I think she's still going through that big.
Yeah, absolutely. So because we keep lobbing new stuff into the list. Like we've just done a big like rebrand, and that was never on the list, and then suddenly it's like, no, actually we should do this. So then. Whatever.
Who was the rebrand? Who was it? Was it both of you?
It was both. I mean, to be honest, it came from some. We knew that we needed to do some brand deepening work anyway, because we hadn't done any brand work for a long time.
Yeah, it was since the beginning. Same. Yeah,
exactly. Same look and feel. And even if we were going to stay very much within those tramlines, we knew like, well, we don't have like this, which ideally we would, just because we'd never done it in the first place. But also, we did some customer research in December, which we've
done it before.
Not really. That's the thing. I mean, yes, bits and pieces, but not in such a like structured, methodical way. I mean, it was just like a quite carefully thought out survey that we sent out to our customers. But we got good. We had
because you've got. I think because you've got a couple of thousand. You say, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah. And you have some loyal customers, so I think they probably. Yeah.
We gave them a free sandwich or something. As well. Let's still sweeten the deal.
Yeah.
And we just got some really interesting like insights from it, including stuff like people really love the food, great, but they didn't completely understand what we were. Like some people who weren't complete regulars, they didn't really get it. Like, what is it? What are you all about? But also some people who kind of thought, they were like, yeah, we like it. It's really like, it's like quite classy, sophisticated. It's a bit corporate though. And we're like, what? Corporate? Like, I've been like running away from my corporate job for like 10 years. So it was a bit of a wake up call of like, our old aesthetic was quite minimal and all of these things. And we thought that was nice. But actually we're like, we just got a bit too serious here.
Yeah,
and
you want to be playful.
Exactly. We're trying to bring joy back to lunch. And so like, are we being joyful enough?
Yeah.
So that was the kind of, that was the the prompt, or that was kind of what kicked us over the line to be like, okay, we should do this now actually, and maybe this takes us in a slightly different direction. And then actually an investor who invested as part of the crowd fund, who comes from a marketing background, and had like grown and sold his agency and knows all about that.
Yeah.
He was like being really helpful and speaking to me about it and introduced us to a couple of great designers.
Oh, amazing.
So the crowdfund process has brought in people.
That's even better. That's like organically happened.
Exactly. Really
Oh,
nice.
wow.
So yeah, it kind of.
So did you reach out to investors as well? Was that part of the?
To be honest, so Rob, the investor in question, I mean, before he invested, he many people just invest and they like look a bit, but he got in touch. I wanted to sit down and chat and talk about it. So you had like a couple of really good conversations with him, and I was quite open about saying like, this is what we think we're nailing, this is what we've still got question marks about.
Yeah.
And luckily, like,
you do get that, and when someone does the bigger ones will do it, or whatever does a crowd, you don't get access to you.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like the founder doesn't really have get access to it. So that's quite like unicorning. That's quite unique, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I guess I think it's really helpful. So we've been really lucky with the investors that we have. Some of whom are now on the board.
Yeah.
Some of whom just advise us because there's a lot of stuff that we don't have still within the team because it's not practical to have all of these skill sets within the team.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to be able to lean on other people.
That's awesome.
And so luckily for us, we have some of that in our investor group.
So, okay. So now we're on to how many sites?
This is 10.
10. Wow. Okay. 10 sites. Holborn.
Yep.
People need to go check it out. And now you have loyalty.
We do.
And the subscription.
Yep.
The coffee club, what's it called?
Brew Club.
Brew Club, thank you. And you have marketing, new logo. So a bit more. I guess it's the second generation of being, grown up. I think, in site 10. What's the future looking like? If you can share.
Yeah, I mean, I can. We're really ambitious for the business. Like, we really think that what we do is pretty accessible. It's basically really delicious sandwiches, coffee.
I can agree.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But it's not overly niche. It's something that people like everywhere. Like, everyone loves a sandwich, basically. Yeah. We've worked really hard to keep the price point accessible, so we're kind of in the like £6 to £10 bracket rather than like 30 to 50.
On that note, how's that been since price changes and everything else? Has it been difficult to work around menu items?
Quite tricky, quite tricky. We spent a lot of time on like recipe design, process design, like how can we do it? It's still got to be as delicious, but it can't cost 13 quid.
Yeah.
How? It's tricky, and like Peter is constantly working on supply. I think it's a mixture of like his really great hard work on the supply side, but we just really place a high level of burden on ourselves on every menu development that we
still going to be a £19 salad basically.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's got to be like super smart so that it's delicious but still affordable.
Yeah.
So for all of those reasons, we think that there is potential for us to really grow. Like, we'd love to get to like 50 plus sites in the next 5 years, and ultimately we think 100 sites in the UK. We believe there's potential for that, and we think that like at the moment we're all central London. We think next up we'd like to try and nail a couple of like more neighbourhood high streets in London, like a Clapham, Islington, Richmond, whatever it may be. Too far. Because we think that there's no reason why it shouldn't work in a more neighbourhood setting.
Great.
Where we might tweak it a bit and build up the bakery offering a bit, but essentially
make it more sit down style.
Exactly.
And so on. Yeah. There's some we working some really cool little bakery cafes. We've got one in the Cotswold called Bakery on the Hill, and it's awesome, super busy. Yeah. Good food, that sort of style. You could so see it being community style, like that sort of come in, people sit down, and
we think so, but we need to kind of prove it. So that's somewhere between sites 10 and 20. We'd like to prove that, and then somewhere between sites 20 to 30, we'd like to prove like an outside of London type location. We really want to get into like airports and rail stations. That's a big goal.
It's hard because not hard as in, but it's hard getting good food. Because it's all just either sandwiches or restaurants. Nothing's that great. So exactly. I think it's a really good.
I think there's a mid ground.
100%.
It's kind of bacon at the moment. Those are kind of I think in terms of where we'd like to get to, that's where we're thinking. And then in the meantime, it's like, how do we get there? We're kind of working it out day to day, I suppose. Like, I think that, like, the change to like the layout is a small thing that actually we think can have quite a big impact. And I think like really trying to make sure that we maximize, we don't lose and we never lose sight of that customer engagement, and it still be like hospitality, even though it's quick. And it's like a lot of people are in and out.
Because your sites aren't all, I mean, some of them are small, but there's always seating, which is nice because lots of QSRs you go in, there's just kiosks everywhere.
Yeah.
You've got nowhere to sit down.
Yeah.
You just go in and out and you're gone. So is Holborn, I haven't been to Holborn actually, but I will be going to Holborn. Is Holborn a mixture of nice seating and with that level, those levels?
Exactly. So actually some of the first, some of them have no seating. The very early ones are absolutely tiny.
Yeah.
Broadgate, Canary Wharf is just a kiosk in the wall.
Yes.
But most of them do. I think what we're landing on is like kind of like 750 to 1,000 square foot is great for us.
Yeah.
Where there's space for the kitchen, we can still prep everything on site. This new format actually squashes down the kitchen a bit, which is great. And then enough space for like 20 to 30 seats.
Yeah.
Kind of perfect.
It's perfect.
Because we've got sometimes with more than that. And to be honest, we're like that, we didn't really need that.
Yes.
Because they're full at lunch, but then mostly they're not. And like a lot of people in our setting are like, either they're eating pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It's not a massive dwell time, which is fine. And works for us, or they're taking it back to their desk for the more city officey sites. So yeah.
On that note, what are your, because obviously you have delivery, right? So there's delivery, and you've got all those channels in. What's your percentage of order in?
Yeah.
Versus delivery?
It's like 70% in, 30% delivery.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And of the delivery, it's about half kind of corporate catering stuff versus direct to consumer like Deliveroo and Uber Eats kind of stuff.
Have you seen it change? Because back in the day there was like City Pantry and all the rest. There were quite a lot of it out there. Has it changed? Have you seen the corporate side change?
I think pre-COVID it was like 90% delivery, and then it surged a lot. I think the corporate catering thing has massively grown.
That's great,
and I think is here to stay. I mean, it's tricky to know because there was huge growth post-COVID. Like my wife, for example, and I think this is typical of many places, like her company started paying for their lunch because it was like, would tempt you back in
to the office.
It was like via Fever. It's like a little perk to be like, please come in. And that was great for a while. They stopped doing it now. So it's kind of interesting. So I don't know whether and now everyone's like, well, everyone just has to come in again now. So therefore we don't have to do it. But I think generally though, that corporate catering side and that concept of we will pay for your meals even if it's like a day a week or something seems like it was massively boosted in the post-COVID environment. And obviously everyone had just got used to like delivery stuff during COVID. So I just think it's kind of a fact of life now. We would I think a big project for us is to try and grow our own delivery catering. So it's like
100%.
As much as possible doing it direct. We control the delivery, possibly working with a partner where it's appropriate, but not, the deliveries are coming straight to us.
You control it. You're controlling it. That's the challenge, isn't it? I think I was speaking to another technology company the other day in the US, and they are that middleware of making sure that the item actually gets to the other end. It's not over here. It was really interesting to was talking about it, how the technology works, making sure. Because I was talking to people in the US about a DoorDash, and they were saying if you don't, some people you haven't given a tip, you end up getting like half the food thrown at your door. I mean, it's crazy. No control. I was like, what the hell? I was like, here they just won't give it to you, or they've just done up late. So there's that challenges as well. And so, but you've also put some technology in place. I think you guys are using Flint, right? As that tool in between, right?
Flint is cool. So we're using Flint for that's integrates with Deliveroo, Uber Eats, Just Eat. Not the Just Eat for Business side yet. It's just doing that, and it basically automates your kind of promotions, so your offers and your ads, and basically, so you can sort of set up.
If it's quiet, you can trigger, right?
Various automated triggers. And
so talk to me about before because we're nearly finished. Okay. I'm sorry, I've been asking lots of questions. What is the tech stack now? I know things might change later, but where are we with now?
Right. Okay. So let's not get this wrong, but so I mean Vita Mojo.
Yes.
That's integrated with. So we use MarketMan for our inventory and stock and everything. We use Harry for our not just our recruitment, but we also use it as our core like rotoring labor management system. We're using Como for our CRM and our loyalty. We're using Flint to automate our offers through delivery. What am I missing?
I think that's about it.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean,
Yeah.
Vita's doing a lot of the work of like, it's integrating our delivery orders and things like that.
Yeah,
so you don't
yeah.
have to deliberate and things.
So
like
that's saving that.
Yeah.
I will have to point out the one thing that with the little QR project that we did on the iPads, because I remember we were going to the challenge of like drilling a hole into the iPad and so on. I have to shout out because we only did a little bit, but you did the rest of it. And it's really interesting because having an iPad, going to any Vita Mojo kiosk, unless they've got the scanner, even Leon haven't got the scanners underneath where you have to, in Black Sheep Coffee, you have to sort of do this and you're not finding it. I love what you've done with the little QR, so it's just easy.
It's much better.
Yeah, and it's in the iPad and it's done.
Yeah.
And I think I have to give you props for that because it's made the path to entry a lot easier.
Yeah.
And that was your little project. There must be something.
Oh my God.
So your brain's always going, there must be something.
Yeah.
And it looks awesome. I was in Golden Square and I was just seeing it in use and it just works.
Yeah.
So for something that where I love it when the POS company says it can't be done.
Yeah.
And then we prove them wrong.
Yeah.
So I love that. Okay, so we come to the end. Thank you. I'm going to give you the... Oh, there you go. They don't round up, you can just about hear that, but they can hear that. Thank you so much. And we have the last questions, which is... and it's a best restaurant.
Okay.
So there's a few more.
Oh, yes. I've got to say, so my favourite is Padella.
Yeah.
I know, again, it's like, I know it's simple.
I love it.
But I absolutely love Padella. Specifically the like original Borough one.
All right. Yeah.
And again, it's like kind of a happy place for me and my wife. We like to go there quite a lot. Actually, it's been a while since we've been, but it's just so good.
Yeah, no, I agree. They're a client of ours actually. That's what
nice.
I say. I worked them very lovely, nice team.
Yeah,
awesome staff. Food is just, and watching the pasta being made,
it's just awesome
as well, is just awesome. They've literally nailed it, and great brand.
Yeah,
and also it's a challenge because around the Borough Markets, as you leave, you're tempted to walk into Borough Market and spend absolute fortune.
Yeah.
on other stuff. Best burger.
Bleecker.
Yeah,
I absolutely love a Bleecker. I do also love the burger at the Plimsoll, Finsbury Park, which is really great. But I'm like a absolute Bleecker devotee.
Yeah, angry fries or not? Or yeah, you got angry. Yeah. Okay, me too. Same. I'm glad you said that. And then what about the blue? Which burger does have interest?
I just typically go for a double just cheese. Not that I get bacon, but I don't get bacon on the Bleecker just because I feel like, I don't know why really, it's just so perfect, just the cheeseburger, so I just go cheese.
Yeah, I'll be happy you saying that. Yeah. Best hotel?
Oh, best hotel. Ooh. Tough one. Trying to think of... a really great research. I'm gonna have to come back to you on that one.
That's right.
Yeah,
you come back to that one. Okay, last one is 2 questions for the next guest.
Okay. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yes. I was like,
you're like, why are you asking 2 questions?
It's in the hotel one. Gotta be. Basically, I'm just trying to think. I mean, I'm thinking of Italy because that's where my mind
is your happy place
goes to. Exactly. I'm thinking like we stayed anywhere particularly fancy there, not especially. We stayed.
You don't really need to because it's just you're like you're probably hardly ever in the hotel. To be fair,
I'm gonna have to like text you in an answer.
That's fine. Don't worry, I'll put it as a screen insert underneath your name.
Yeah.
This is one his hotel.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have next guest will either be operator, marketer, could be a software supplier, whatever.
Yeah.
So 2 questions for the next guest.
Okay.
Please.
I'm gonna go with. I hadn't really prepped this, so okay.
That's right. Okay, Bow's questions was like off the cuff.
Okay, nice.
So
I'm gonna go with what's your earliest food memory? And how about just what motivates you?
Okay, I like that. Great, thank you very much. Okay, I'm gonna give you another round of applause and give everyone a wave goodbye. Thank you so much for coming. That was awesome, and I'll send you the recording.
Pleasure. Thanks, Wayne.